Recording in progress.
There you go.
All right, so all set? Very good. Well, we do have a quorum, even though we're missing part of it. That's okay. So let's call the meeting to order. First thing I should say, and I don't put down, does anyone have anything else they want to put on the agenda or talk about other than what's listed? You took a look, I tried to make it all inclusive, but that's.
Considering what we're trying to get done, on a timeline,
Okay. Okay, great.
you know.
The minutes from the last meeting. And they were September 13th minute, the agenda, that was my fat typo thing. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes? Any thoughts, additions? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes? All right. Wrapped survey results. So when we left, we said that what we were going to do was try it out with friends and family. So, I did some, it was limited, but I did some. And the results I got back were it was clear and understanding and, intent. What did other people find?
Just a couple grammatical things. Birmingham's trash collection, the second line, statutes require towns to provide.
Okay.
And then on question number 2, last line, if trash tag prices are reduced, general taxes would increase. Maybe we should say the tax share would increase. We can't say for sure property taxes are gonna go up.
No, we.
What we want to say is
The
the proportional share coming from tax revenues would be more than if the revenue from trash tags went down.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of what's it.
well, so general taxes would increase, and
Is it the,
it's all the furor going around about taxes this week.
should we just say taxes may increase?
Or I would say the tax share or the tax portion. Or the tax.
I'm a little concerned because tax portion, I think we've got that covered by saying 100% paid by tags, 75% paid by tags, so the rest is obviously going to the tax. So, and I'm a little concerned, I wanna do the KISS principle, so maybe if we just say our reduced taxes may increase as opposed to would, because it may not be enough to move the needle. But I mean, by saying that 50% is shared by tags, you're saying that 50% is gonna be the, general taxes. I mean, so if you hit the 50%, essentially that's what you're saying.
What if we just left off that last sentence?
How, what do you think?
I would replace would with may,
Okay.
and general tax is property tax,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. That's how the town gets its revenue.
I mean, that is whether it would go up substantially, obviously it wouldn't go up a whole lot.
No,
but
it's not. And it doesn't say
And
substantial.
it might be offset by a reduction somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but what that would mean is obviously tax.
like you said,
don't
it
get the
might
full.
be enough, not be enough movement.
Might be enough movement. But I think it's important to get the idea across that this is not a freebie. If you only wanna pay 50% of your trash, the other 50% is being picked up by people in general, so I think. The reason that was included was to try to get across that this is not a freebie.
May. I guess general tax is kind of, I don't know, for some reason. I have to question whenever I read general, what do they, oh, property taxes.
Do you think maybe we should say property taxes?
I would say property taxes, but may or may not increase, does that?
So, and remember, this is gonna go on Facebook as well, so,
Right.
or that's what we're potentially called.
If trash tag prices are reduced, the cost paid by taxes would increase.
The cost paid by taxes. What's the thought that has you rewording this? Is this
The
not,
way it reads,
okay,
it's how I interpret it as, well, if trash tag prices are reduced, my property tax is going to go up. My tax bill is going to
Yeah.
increase.
and by changing it to may, or may not. Does that address that particular issue? I'm a little concerned with language that is not as straightforward as we can make it, given the audience. Am I talking about
That's why-
cost share and stuff, all of a sudden that's starting to put a little,
And like Paul said, last week or so, everybody's kind of had a scare in their mailbox.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
it is kind of a red flag thing right now, property taxes. But that doesn't make it not true.
yeah,
either.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
it's true.
Or we could say, if trash tag prices are reduced, the difference would be no. So,
Would taxes actually increase? I mean, because we're already paying a portion of that.
Let's say,
So,
let's say people come and say, you know, I don't wanna pay anything for trash tags, it ought to be included the way it is in Freeport, the way it is in many other states, it ought to just be included and that's it. All of a sudden, what that does is take all of your budget and put it over here, you don't get any of the offsetting revenue from the trash tags. If we do that with that budget, the taxes will go up. Probably not that much, given now we're talking about a $2 million budget for the town in total, so, I mean, with your, it won't impact it, but it definitely would impact it. I mean, that's why the select board voted or wanted to eliminate it totally, because they thought it would be a big tax break.
30,538 tags times 3, you're almost at $100,000.
Yeah. So, I think it's important to get the idea across that. I mean, it's great, I mean, nobody wants to pay for trash tags,
right, but I
but
mean,
you're gonna pay for it elsewhere.
I guess what I'm getting at is we're already paying 60 cents a bag out of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward, would it actually, if we left everything the same, our taxes wouldn't change?
That's correct. What this question is getting at. Because I know the selectmen struggled with this when the taxes went up, because when the tags went up, they originally wanted to put the tags up at $3.50.
Right.
Which would be essentially paying for itself. By asking, and then they thought it might be too big of an increase. By asking this, what we're saying from the asking of the town is, how do you feel about the program being subsidized or self-sufficient or self-supporting. And no matter what the numbers actually come up, if we find that the town says, I want it to be self-sufficient, totally. Next time we get in and are doing, the town with the tag and the selectmen are looking at what the tag prices are. I mean, we have information right there that says the town really wants it to be self-supporting. Or they don't, they want it to be subsidized, they want it half subsidized, or they want it, and maybe setting it up by the numbers is not the right way to go about that, but I think we should be very transparent. If you don't want to pay for tags, you're gonna pay for it in your, in just the property tax. And unfortunately, the people around town who have dumpsters, and what, there are about 60 dumpsters in town, they're paying in their property taxes for that, and they're paying for their dumpsters, so,
And that part of the question does read, if trash tag prices are reduced. Which,
yeah,
if they are reduced more, then a higher. Proportion, I guess.
so where are we here? If trash tag prices are reduced, property taxes may increase.
But have it that way, or may not, we don't know.
I think may,
Yeah.
it
May.
And we could
implies
say
may
the
not.
difference will be made up. Or the difference would be paid through by tax revenue. So. I just don't wanna say property taxes will increase.
We're saying may, but what your suggestion is saying, if trash tag prices are reduced.
Tags go down,
Difference
difference is made up from
difference would be made up from,
tax revenue.
okay, we wanna say tax revenue or say property taxes.
Or the
Is that
difference
what
would be paid out of the town budget or something. I just don't wanna say, a property tax increase and start a scare.
Okay, so if trash bag prices are reduced, difference would be made up through property taxes? How are you thinking about wording it, Paul?
I'd like to say it somehow. That's through, the town budget. I just want to stay away from
But,
anything that smells like tax increase at this point.
but I get that that's a sensitivity, but as Pat said, it's also the truth. If people don't want to pay for trash tags, they're
Yes,
gonna
it's
have
a-
increase in property taxes, period. And I appreciate we can rewrite, difference could be made up through, but the minute we start saying town budget, I mean, what we're doing is fudging. Because it's not made up through the budget is the budget, it's just trying to fund the budget.
So could we say the difference would be made up through tax revenue?
Sure. How's that work for you? Got
It does.
it, okay.
Yep.
So let me just read it to make sure it's right. If trash tag prices are reduced, the difference would be made up through tax revenue. Okay.
And the only other comment I have is. I think most of the 0 to 5 scales or whatever
Mhm.
start with the no and go to the yes. And these start with the yes and go to the no.
From what I saw and have experienced, as long as your scale is balanced, and as long as you don't change from one question starts at no and the next one starts at yes.
Right.
And here we've started at very satisfied and very willing. So we're consistent in that, and we have as many on the one side as on the other.
I just know that people think, or at least I think, okay, it's 0 to 10. 0 is I don't like it, and 10 is I do like it a lot.
And we can flip the scales. I mean,
That's my
I,
only other comment. Otherwise, I think we're okay.
Pat, do you wanna flip the scales or leave them as is?
I have no opinion on that whatsoever. Either way, so it doesn't matter. to me.
Yeah.
Yes. If you come in with it the other way, I wouldn't know it's. Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker.
All right. All right, so now comes the real tricky question, and that is how to do this survey.
Were you thinking about putting this on Facebook?
This point, I have reached out to the administrators, because, you know, Facebook friends and family, they really try to stay away from the controversies.
Yeah.
They have indicated that they would be willing to put this on. I did, as I reached out to them, I did tell them this was trash only, because I think they would hesitate if we were recycling, but trash only. Pretty simple, just a couple of questions kind of thing. They did indicate that they're willing to put it on. Now, the problem is, I have seen once in a while real surveys on Facebook where you click one or the other. I've looked into doing that. You have to have survey software already and then put it up on that. I don't have survey software, and I don't know if either of you have survey software and wanna type this in and do that and put it up. I thought we could put it up, I did. I put a top sentence on it, just said, please respond if you are a citizen of Bodenham, because I know there's some Bodenham friends, and just said, we'll be collecting comments, and I put a date down of October 8th. And I can, you know, they're the administrators on the site. I told them that we were going to talk about it at meeting, and it's possible that it would go out.
The reason I ask is my recent experience with Facebook friends and family is you can ask the most innocent question or post the most,
I know,
just go sideways and becomes
I get it.
just noise.
And I think at that point, what would happen is the administrators would take it down. So we'd have to grab it. First up, I think if we put it out there, someone raises a question, we should make sure that we are responding quickly to that.
I think it's definitely a good place to advertise the survey itself, saying if we,
So what's your alternative for doing this?
well, we had talked to a postcard at one time or a mailing or something.
I don't know if you read the minutes or the update in the email. Postcards are not something that we can do at this point. There's not enough time, there's not enough funding, and it would take the vendor 2 weeks to produce what was in the minutes as an update. Yeah, so postcards are off the table for us. I agree, I would much rather do postcard 100%, and when we get around to doing a survey about recycle, I think we really, really need to take a look at that. I would rather not do social media surveys for recycle. But on this one, we've got 3 questions, we have no time. And I'm not sure that we've got another option unless you can think of something, I mean. Heavens knows, I may not think of everything.
So I had some concerns about this, and I talked to a couple people.
Yeah, what did you find out?
We're gonna. By having it on Facebook, you're only gonna get a portion of the demographics, you're gonna miss out a whole group of people. And I don't have a solution for that, but it's a problem.
Some of that is, because I did think through that too, I mean, certainly. For instance, my husband's not on Facebook, he's never gonna be on Facebook, and he's on Facebook, but. If we don't do that, we get no input. Right. I think understanding that it's imperfect, that the audience is not going to be. You know, this is not an impartial sample by any means. That I think what we do is we look at the results, whatever we get as feedback, as guidance, not dictates. As, yeah, there's a good portion of the town that thinks this or thinks that.
So,
But that it's not that. Otherwise, I don't think we have the opportunity to get input at all.
if it did go up on Facebook, how would people respond?
What we would say is, you know, please put in the comments, and I might actually, if I'm the one putting it up, I might actually be the one that puts the first comment in that says, you know. As a citizen of Bowdenham, I would say that, you know, I'm very satisfied with the way it is. I don't think we should subsidize, so in other words, I
It
would,
wouldn't be a check the box.
no, I don't think we can do that.
Yeah,
It's
it's clunky, I think.
it's very clunky,
Very clunky.
absolutely agree. I don't know what else to do with regard to getting input.
When I hear printing postcards, I don't know. My naive thinking is. You print it out, you fill it out, label on it, stamp, throw it in the mail.
Paul, why don't you address what you told me?
The problem is you're looking at 1,410 mailboxes. Okay, that's not something we can do in-house. So it has to go to a printer. Printer requires 2+ weeks.
Okay, agree on that.
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's funding, the funding has to be approved by the select board for the postage and that.
Okay.
Which were 1,400 mailboxes would be, I don't even know what close to 50 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 50 cents.
Something dollars. So again, it's a time thing. That's what it boils down to. Yeah.
Well, time and
A
funding.
little bit of funding.
And if, I gotta tell you, if we're gonna shoot any money on surveying, I would rather it be on the recycle stuff. Cause that's so much more. I think we need so much more input on that one than,
What if we printed these out? I mean, you're talking with 2 reams of paper, 3.
yeah,
Printed these out and then put them in different locations around town. People fill them out, turn them into the town office.
logistically, we could do that.
Yeah, in the store, the town office, the
Yeah.
library.
One of the concerns I have, obviously, that's, I think we get more representation from Facebook. The other thing is if somebody had a real bugaboo, I'm gonna grab a stack. Honestly, I think we'd get more comments from Facebook. Because people who are working.
Yep.
And we've got such a short time,
Right.
because if we put, and I put down through October 8th, and that certainly is up for discussion, but given everything coming, I don't think we can extend it much beyond that. So
We don't
people
have,
that are working, they're not gonna stop. I mean, how often do you stop at the town office or down at the country store?
we don't have an election or any other big event coming up that we could
Not-
piggyback on
Not between now and, not within the next
in the next.
4 or 5 days, which is when we really, you know. I mean, the other option is not to get any input at all. I would rather get some.
It'd be nice to get just an idea of what people.
Yeah.
think.
And I think, to your,
Well, like you said.
to your point, Pat, we have to
Wait.
take whatever we get with a grain of salt. One of the things that it will do if we put it out there is people will know, because I mean. I didn't know. I don't know how many people we have watching us now. People don't know that Palmer's retiring and that we're gonna go through this. I mean, it will at least give people a heads up that, something's changing.
Given our time constraints, I don't know if we have any option other than that. There's Bowdenham Friends and Family, there's Bowdenham Town
Forum.
Forum. I don't know if there's any other ones.
So would you think we should put it on more than one, or should we just put it on the friends and family, or?
Silence of this thing, so it's into a day. I don't know why we wouldn't put it on more than one, is there a reason?
No, I'm.
Yeah.
I'm open to whatever. Like I said, I did a bunch of thinking on this, so I kind of came to that same conclusion you did. I'm not sure we have much choice.
Would it simplify things if for each question we labeled them A, B, C, D, E? And then they could, instead of writing, and I'm very satisfied, 50%. Somewhat willing, they could say 1A, 2B, 3E.
That would be an easier way to tally results, I would think.
And would it get more response? Because it would be a little quicker.
I wonder. What do you think? You just made me think. I wonder if we just in the intro say, or just say on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very satisfied. Just so worded that way.
Except we got a different scale for each question.
Yeah, but we could do that, just saying, how satisfied are you in the current approach of having trash picked up roadside? Scale of 1 to 5. And then it said 1 being very satisfied. And 5 being dissatisfied.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, it's just using 1 to 5 instead of A, B, C, D.
Yeah, and then for the next one,
One being everything paid by trash tags, 5 being nothing paid by trash tags. So without the percentages in. 1 being very willing, 5 being not at all willing, or.
Yeah.
Would. So do you want the ones to be the positive side or the ones to be the negative side? Paul, we'll let you. What do you think? This one's yours.
I would leave it as is. That way the people who are dissatisfied are gonna have to work a little harder.
All right, so what I'll do, and I'll do this with each of them. How satisfied with our current approach of having trash bags picked up roadside? And I would say on a scale of 1 to 5. with 1 being very satisfied. 5 being very dissatisfied. So the questions would be reworded a little bit.
Yeah.
But only on a scale of 1 to 5. Are you guys okay with me rewording it and just putting it out, because we don't really have time to,
So it's going on the friends and family on the town forum.
and the forum, those are the only 2 I'm aware of. Are there more? Or Brian, you know,
If there are, I don't know, yeah.
those are the ones.
Yeah, Richmond, Litchfield friends and family, but
Yeah,
I think I would stay away from that.
yeah, the beginning sentence that I was gonna put on is, please respond, and I said, if you are, I should say only if you are a citizen of Buckingham. If you are a citizen of Buckingham. And then I'll just change it to scales of 1 to 5.
Yes, people will respond in the comments. And
Any other thoughts on this? And I agree with you, I'm not particularly thrilled with the way that it's coming out, but it's better than nothing.
Should we,
should we apologize for the short notice, but we're in a time crunch?
We could.
Just acknowledge that this is very short notice. But we have limited time.
and I was,
So otherwise, what? Where does come from?
Yeah, no, I like that, I'll put that in.
and one of my many faults is when I hear things. I always just chime in and reply if someone's wrong on something, and. I'm thinking that. I should not do that. In this state, do not reply to anything in this.
Scale of 1 to 5, what do you think? I mean, you're a citizen too.
Yeah.
I mean, we should all feel free to do that. Like I said, my husband's not going to.
But if somebody makes some inflammatory comment, you don't have to respond.
No.
There we go.
If somebody asks a straight question, I will try to respond with a straight answer, non-inflammatory. I can go and talk to the admins too, and if it gets too out of hand, the admins will close it down.
I can't imagine it would get too crazy, but I've said
It's
that.
3 questions about trash. Do you like it roadside? Should tags pay for everything or just part of it?
It's pretty black and white.
And how would you feel if we changed the model and it saved you a little bit of money? I'm hoping it's not too controversial.
I don't think it.
What happened when they cut down the tree in the water?
Oh, the tree that unfortunately was rotting on the inside. That was so sad. So it looked like a nice tree.
Thing that bugs me, it's not. Friends and family is all the people.
I know.
Is the town office open to them? Right. Why don't you call the town? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a hole in it. Anybody answers the phone, they're on. Is the grocery store open tonight? Why don't you call them?
Right.
Okay.
One thing that was not, I did not capture on the agenda, but we had talked about last week. And Brian, you were gonna look at for us, is what it would take to make Pond Road a transfer station. Were you able to follow up on that?
Yeah, and essentially that's. I don't know if you all watched the select board meeting last night, they're gonna be sending a new charge your way. That will address some of that.
Good, what's that?
Well, I don't wanna, because I don't know what the charge is, I don't wanna.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's not a surprise, I mean, you're gonna be you're getting another charge, but I don't wanna.
It's okay.
Oh, it's got my brown.
Go ahead.
Not a trash item.
I was gonna mention that we got new engineering reports that came out on the recycle barn. And I would suggest being on this committee to, when unfortunately, we had guests last night, so I wasn't watching. Either watch the select committee and then grab some of the reports and read. One of the things we've talked about in the past in this committee is that we were not gonna make an ordinance that dealt with where recycling was going to happen, so I think we can. It's nice information to have, but I'm not sure we would, you know. But it's probably good for all of us that are on this committee to take a look and understand what happened and what they're saying.
So I believe. That the next select board meeting, there is going to be a public hearing. On that very question. I haven't seen, there's no agenda for that meeting yet,
Well, no, that,
but
because they only met last night.
I believe it's coming and I believe it's gonna be the next select board meeting. That there's gonna be a public hearing on recycling.
Okay.
Okay. So we off the agenda briefly here.
Yeah, only very briefly. Regardless of all of that that's going on. Were you able to do any exploration on what it would take and whether it would be a big task or not to turn Pond Road into a transfer station?
I need a separate entrance with a gate. And apply to the state. But it has to go through the planning board also.
Okay,
And that's all I need to be a transfer station.
okay,
Then it could be added to, buildings, so I mean, it. Could go anywhere after that, but
okay.
And the current setup we have is Sawhorse across. Counts as a separate entrance
no, we have to actually put a separate entrance
from the road.
from Public Works entrance, yes.
So there would be cost.
But
Or a transfer station.
for a transfer station, correct? And that would be, we've already looked at it as something that can be done in-house. So it's a minimal cost.
So grading and a culvert and
Exactly, it's, some gravel and a culvert. And remove, some trees.
Thank you. And I apologize that wasn't on there, but I did want to follow up since we had it there. And we anxiously await what's coming.
I also sent an email to Casella asking if there was a question on insurance.
Yes,
And they have not got back to me yet on that.
okay. And that actually brings us to because that was in the red line RFP, so we're back on agenda now. That was just one quick question.
My guess is they don't have a requirement. Other than what the state requires for vehicle liability. Insurance.
I wonder if the town has any liability that we want vendors to have insurance for. I mean, it was in the Palmer contract for a reason.
Right.
I wonder, can you maybe ask Nicole?
I did.
Oh,
The
okay.
town has no policy.
Town has no policy about garage vouching. All right.
so if the town hires somebody to repair the cupola on the. Town hall, they're not gonna require them to have workers' comp insurance. I would hope they would.
I mean, you've seen the contract and you've seen what's in there. That's That's standard liability.
Yeah, farmer,
amounts.
farmer contract talks about farmer economy.
Yeah. So, what's for?
But that just happened to be in that contract, it's not standard practice for all town contracts with them.
I've never seen any other contracts other than my department.
All right, and let's,
Nicole said there was no requirement for vendors to be.
Exactly, she said there's no policy.
okay, well, let's, I mean, we're into the red line. Um, RFP now. The first thing that's redlined is the dates are still all in TBD state.
Yeah.
As we talked last time, that the time span between the dates all still appears pretty good, but it all depends on when that first one is, when the RFP is released, so we'll have to,
And
that's still.
how is the RFP released? Where does it go?
I did talk to Nicole about that. First off, Brian gave us last week. A list of people.
Right.
And I don't know whether we would mail it to that group. So that would be the first. Nicole also did say that they put and would put things, I think, Paul, you'd even mentioned once, you know, in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
It can be
we could do that,
Yeah.
as well. So those are the couple of things. We've got the market to send it to that Paul, that Brian gave us last week. Plus putting it in the newspaper.
Right, and I've seen in the past that the town advertises RFPs on the website.
Yeah,
I've seen them on MMA's website.
Yeah, okay.
so I think all the usual suspects. And although we're working on this RFP, obviously, you know, we're gonna send it to Nicole as a draft and she gets to do
Yeah.
whatever she wants with it. The next red line we talked about, and this gets into the insurances thing. Question one was talking about adequate insurances, but did not say what adequate insurances were. We did say in here that coverage was required by Casella. Because that was our understanding. We could actually take that. The coverage is required by Casella, we could take that sentence out. And then just say insurance certificates must be presented prior to contract effective date. Which that was something that was in the. One of the, either the Casella proposal that we read or the Farmer, yeah, I don't remember which one. But we could take out coverages required by Casella if we don't really know that,
We don't know, we shouldn't say it.
okay? Alright, so we'll, on question one, we'll eliminate that one sentence. And then the red line on that is just a note, but if we're just saying that, you know, contractor is required to have adequate insurances and we're asking them to detail what insurances they have.
Yeah, my district rep over there at Casella's said he would have to contact their legal department. And I've not heard back. It's been, you know, a week and a half.
Okay. I think we can leave it just without that sentence, leave it as it is. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Okay. Consolidated the question two with what used to be question three, that you can see is red line pushed out. Only 1 day per week, please confirm that they can accommodate for 1 day per week.
So is that instead of the previous sentence or in addition to?
The red line shows what was added in and what was taken out.
Okay.
On question 3, you okay with that was the discussion last time, was to consolidate those.
Yep.
The next question, we added that one sentence, please let us know if possible for your company to hold the contract with the trash disposal site. If it's possible, please indicate in your pricing what impact that might have. So they'd have to provide us pricing 2 ways. One way, if they had the contract at the disposal site, which is something we talked about, and then obviously the pricing for if they just pick up the way Palmer does right now. Is that okay?
Should we say something in there that? It's kind of suggested here, but we don't come right out and say, at this point, the town contracts with Casella for disposal.
That is in here, it's in the
Oh, in the introduction.
the background, the way the current program is working. Where it says the vendor
That's
has,
contract with.
Yep.
Okay.
so that's already in there.
So,
Question 4, we eliminated the question 4 that was there, we talked about, that was picking up recyclables. And replace that with backup equipment.
Yeah.
Which that was a good catch. I would call that review, that was a good catch. And then simply to just, do you have backup equipment? And if you don't have backup equipment, are you willing to acquire?
Yeah.
Question 5. This is newer in here. And as our survey asks, and we've done some talking, and I know as I was testing out the survey, people were saying, a silver bullet might not be a bad thing for us to have, bring in trash over instead of whatever. I thought that we probably should get a little more specific. We did say previously any other ideas they might have. But as we've asked the question, I think we ought to be a little more specific in whether or not the vendor would be able to just do a silver bullet model, the way we have the recycling right now, basically. So people would bring trash over to the central location, on the days that it's open. Our thought at this point is that it would still require a tag as, to fund it. But the tag might be less expensive on that way. And if we're asking a question or a survey, whether or not they could do that, we probably ought to have information from the vendor, because if everyone in town says, wow, great idea, let's go with that. And we haven't even asked the vendor whether they can do it then. This summer.
Am I wrong to cringe at the term silver bullet? when
Yes,
when
yeah,
not-
that's Coors Light,
when
right?
It's not used
I,
in reference to recycling.
no, that's mine, that's bad, and we can call it anything you like.
Recycles would go in a silver bullet, and trash goes in a dumpster.
Okay,
That's
dumpster works. So that's why that question was put in there on red line. I just wanted to point that out because we hadn't really dwelled on that a lot. But as I'm looking at the survey, I'm thinking that would be a miss if we asked people and everyone said, yeah, great idea, and we hadn't even asked the vendor if they could do that.
One of the select board members last night asked the question, have we, and not the committee, but the town, have we looked at purchasing a truck and hauling this stuff ourselves?
Yeah, and we
All right.
talked, did you tell them that we talked about that in this meeting?
Just a question that came up, it wasn't discussed any further. I would imagine that will probably come up in the future.
We did talk about that several times in this committee, and it's in the minutes that we believe that may be an ultimate solution. We just don't think we can pull it off between now and the end of December.
Right.
Because that's gonna require some staffing, that's gonna require equipment, that's gonna. You know, and there's just not time, so what we need is a contract to bridge us until we're able to do due diligence on that. To make that as an appropriate option. Of course, we're gonna do that going from a dumpster model to a pick it up again because the. You know, the town is now picking it up on our own. We'll have to work our way through that.
Well, this is getting off agenda.
Yeah.
How much for a truck call?
Well, the truck that picks up a dumpster. Cause then we all over recycle.
And so I looked at that. You can get a. You can get one with high mileage, but in, really good shape. For 50 grand.
That's not that bad.
Right?
But if you're
That's a
talking,
Kenworth.
you're talking about a town, the whole town's worth going into one dumpster, that's gonna be one of those.
It would need to be a.
Crank it up onto the flatbed, dump.
Right.
The same way the silver bullets are. On
Right, and then we would, it's a whole nother topic, but it's one that should be discussed at some time.
Okay. Well, I think as we're talking, when we start working our way through, should we take this in-house or not? That's really a good thing to. And that actually makes me feel better about even asking this question, because if we were to go to the dumpster model early. And we know that the town could pick up the dumpster model. And, do it in-house. I mean, that just says we could do whatever. The model is that we're going with, the town could pick it up once we have time to do the due diligence and do it right.
Yeah, and I absolutely have to be a transfer station in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Anytime dealing with solid waste.
It makes sense for you to be a transfer station anyway. Well, not you. And that was the only thing we had red line.
Your transfer station.
So. Are we, obviously, it's not final yet because we don't have dates. But are we good with the red lines as it is?
Yep. I am.
All right, I will.
Can we go back to dates? Can we,
Well, here's
I mean, that,
one of
or do we let Nicole do that?
I was just wondering that same thing. We want to get. You don't even need I mean, we're asking for the results in the survey fast, but I'm not sure there's even anything in the survey, only because if there's anything that comes up in the survey. That we might want to throw into it. But we could just give it to Nicole with. Dates TBD and let her
Yeah,
put it in.
because we might deal with bids and contracts from time to time. I would think. And
So I was able to get you an extension on the deadline. For this RFP going out, or actually being presented to the town.
Okay.
And it's now January 2nd.
Oh, so instead of December 31st, we have January 2nd.
Right, we're gonna be off those days.
Oh, for a minute there, I was excited. Right. Okay. So red light shining, we're gonna leave to Nicole. Then, since we've got the red line, do you want me to? Take this as it is and shoot it to Nicole?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's good.
change it from red to black.
yep. I can do that. Well, I would say that is one of the big things that can be done. And what's on the agenda, put on the agenda next, because I figure once we get the RFP where it needs to be, we can start talking about the next thing. I mean, we've tried to segment this and get the trash stuff done. But now that the trash stuff is pretty much done in Nicole's hands, now Brian, I'm assuming you're gonna share with Nicole the vendors that you identified to us so that she's got the people to send it out to and everything's in her hands at that point. Okay,
And I will, yeah, dig up their addresses, but yeah.
okay. So then I put on the agenda, solid waste ordinance, planning for next steps. And I've done a little bit of thinking on this, and I know we've talked about it a little. One of the things we talked about doing in the ordinance was we started off with a recital section, or it's also known as the whereas section. Whereas, you know, the town of Bodenham is, or whereas the state has a law saying that trash has to be handled, whereas, you know, there are all kinds of things you can have, you know, Bodenham is an environmentally conscious town, and that's one of the things that, you know, we would want to do survey and see why do people want that. But I'm assuming if they want to do it, you want to put down what are some of the foundations, the underlying things. You know, one of the things that came in one of the engineering reports, I thought it was a really good statement. It says the town's goal is to have a recycling program and facility that is safe, secure, meets ADA, life safety, building codes, and operational requirements. That could be a good thing to put in, whereas the town looking to do, and you know, putting that kind of stuff, and then go into some of the other pieces that we have to do. So with that said, what are some of the things that are important? And we don't have to come up with all of them. I think, and maybe I set the agenda wrong. Maybe the thing to think about is what do we ask the town about recycling? And what are our options? And that's the third bullet, the survey options. What can we do? Because, you know, if the town tells us that recycling is not important to us, then all of a sudden, you know, that gives us a different, I don't think it's going to come back, but that gives us a different thing to lay out, kind of thing. So my thought in putting this in the agenda was more that I wanted this group of people, this committee, to really think of what are the things that we want as what's foundational to a solid waste ordinance in this town. Some of the things could be, you know, Bodenham is an age-friendly community, which means that you might want to make things easier for elderly people. You know, Bodenham, you know, like I said, the state has regulations. Bodenham is committed to follow all federal and state regulations that would apply. Just some of the things that you come out with so that it's clear up front when anybody looks at it, they can say, this is kind of the framework that you've done. I mean, you know, Bodenham's environmentally conscious, but we also want to be fiscally responsible. Maybe that's one of the whereases. You know, Bodenham is committed to be fiscally, you know, providing services in a fiscally responsible way. And then going from there, that can lead you then into things like, you know, when we find out trash tags, it's fiscally responsible to have it pay for itself, or, you know, however we come up. So those are examples that I'm throwing out. That does not mean those are, you know, what we're going to come up with, but what are our thoughts?
I'm out of my depth with an ordinance, so,
Okay.
but what you said
Well,
makes sense.
let's
Yeah,
take
but
it back then. What are the things you think are the foundations?
I-
Of,
if someone wants to recycle recyclable products, you could have a place to do that. I mean, that's about basic, isn't it?
okay.
Um,
One of the reasons I thought maybe putting that, you know, Bodenham is environmentally conscious Because what then maybe we should do is in this ordinance, talk about, can we get a report from our recycle vendor on an annual basis or whatever, as to what happens to recycles? Because I mean, we've all seen in the news that a lot of recycles are just taken and shipped overseas and burned, and that, you know, that's one of the reasons the market has fallen.
And I hear it, not daily, but I hear it quite often, once a month or so, saying, well, we're not recycling. It's all going in a dumpster and getting dumped. I get it
You know-
all the time.
I hear that too.
Yeah.
I
And
hear
I
that too.
tried it, I said, no, it's not, it's going to it's getting all sorted. But no, it's a dumpster, it's getting trash.
And that's, I think, and I know Brian and I talked about this, we could do better with some communications about it, but this might not be the time to get into that, but you're raising, I mean, that's a great issue.
Yeah, Brian, do you have any sense of? Since we went to the silver bullets, is there a greater percentage of trash being mixed in?
Less,
Less.
absolutely. Our contamination rate is almost gone. The problem we're seeing now is, if you wanna call it actually, it's contamination, but it's not. What we were seeing earlier is, we're still seeing peanut butter in jars, you know, mayonnaise in jars and stuff like that. That's the extent of our contamination. Because we're out there, you know, we're watching what's going in it. And if we see something going in, we stop the person, you know, we let them know what can and cannot go in there. But yeah, absolutely, our contamination rate has went down since we went to this. We have, since our last meeting, I have purchased the compacting dumpster. It is being refurbished right now. I should probably have it up here. It's being refurbished in New Jersey. When they're done with replacing everything and that, they're gonna ship it up to us, and I'll need to get an electrician in, get that hooked up, and then the silver bullets will go away.
Oh, what are you gonna do instead?
It all goes into a compacting
Okay.
silver bullet.
And then, does that, so when they come to pick it up, do they take that away and then bring it back empty?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so they'll take West Bath, they'll empty it and then bring it back to us. There will be no increase in fees. It's the same haul fee that we're paying now.
Right.
Just less trips.
Less trips, yep, so we should be able to.
Saving some money.
Yeah, so talking with other communities on theirs. Richmond has a very similar setup, and they said that I should be able to go like 5 trips now before it actually has to be emptied. So it'd be like a 1-to-5 ratio. Yeah, so you know, $400 a pop, we're saving $2,000 each trip. So that thing will be paid off in 7 months.
Wow.
So saving $2,000 each trip.
Well, we're paying $400 a trip right now. So if that only has to be emptied every 5, you know. Because it's compacting it in there.
So when we used to send it 5 times, now we're only gonna have to send it once.
Exactly.
So that means you're saving $1,600
Yeah,
each time.
each trip, yeah. It's a
So they
30,
recycle.
I almost purchased a 40-yard. Instead of the 30-yard, but it's big.
Yeah.
It's a big unit.
30s are what we have now, is that those?
Yeah, those are 32s. I think they're 32s. Either 30 or 32.
That's terrific.
Should have happened years ago.
It should have. Yeah.
It's neither here nor there, it's happened now.
Yep, that's right.
It's happened now.
Sorry.
We're I'm getting ready to make contact with the school. And we're gonna try to have a little contest between the classes over at the school. have them design a paint kind of scheme or theme on it. And then they'll design it over the winter, and then in the spring, we'll have them come out and paint it,
Nice.
and something like that. It's in the early stages.
What a great guy. What a great guy. All right, I would ask that this group think of things that maybe you think might be important, and I can put down some, I mean, I've already thought of obviously some things, I'm not sure they're the right things. That we could put in the whereas sections, and I can draft something, but I would ask for you guys to think so that, I mean, and this is obviously very early, but I want to get people thinking about what do you think is the fundamentals and the foundations that we're going to want for this solid waste, and solid waste needs to cover both trash and recycle. And I think the current solid waste ordinance is not, it's a little, you know, it doesn't really segregate them, at least as I read it, that well, and make it really obvious that this is how we're looking at trash, this is how we're looking at recycle. So I would suggest when we get to it that we are very clear in what it is that, you know, for trash, Bodenham will, or whatever ends up in it. So just for next time, if everyone can think of that, I will draft a couple that I've thought of just to give you guys something to bounce off of. No pride of authorship on any of it, so whatever, but that might help you guys think what's really fundamental. Just wanted to confirm, and I know we've talked about this several times, is that our thoughts is the ordinance that we come up with needs to talk about the what, but not the how and the where. The ordinance that's in place right now talks about some of the what. It lays out, this is what's recyclable. And yet it was written in the 90s, so things change. And I think one of the things that we'll eventually, you know, we'll want to delve into is, you know, at what point, if Bodenham wants to recycle for environmental, but there's also people might want to recycle because, hey, if I recycle, I don't have to buy an extra trash ticket. So at what point then does it become the program costs too much and it should be trash? I mean, if it ever does, because the recycle market changes so much.
Glass is a good example.
Yeah, that's a great example. So the thought, and just to confirm, and like I said, I know we've talked about this a couple of times, that our goal with this ordinance is to talk about the what and not necessarily to talk about the how or dictate, this is how this needs to be done, or this is where this needs to be done, or
Try not to limit us to
Yeah.
Not
path.
to be too specific, we will take this kind of light bulb, but not that kind.
Right.
this it's just gonna change.
Yeah.
And if we leave it something that's flexible, and the selectmen are gonna make choices anyway, so, you know. So that was just in for a confirmation. And then the last thing that's on the agenda for this, and this is gonna be another one that maybe talk about a little now and then talk about again next time that we meet, and that is public input. Brian, and we mentioned this earlier, I personally am of the opinion, I would defer here, that whatever we do to get input for recycle should not be Facebook. It should be, if we can, and we've got the time now, if we can find the budget and get it approved, but do some kind of survey tool, either mailing or something, to get as much input as we can. You know, we can also, obviously, these meetings are open, we only have one person on, but you know, we could advertise that we're going to be talking about recycling at some meeting that we do. and invite public to come to get some more input on it. This one has just been so contentious in the town that I wanna make sure that we're doing everything we can. And then we're gonna have to figure, what are the questions we wanna ask?
A good start for us on this committee
Mhm.
would probably be to attend that select board meeting. If there's public hearing about anything to.
That's
do with
what,
the site.
Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 10th?
Their next meeting.
Which will be the day before.
As soon as I know that it's on the agenda, I'll send you an email,
Okay.
letting you know.
Which brings me to. Maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Of course, that meeting is also taped, so if you're not around or here, you can always watch it.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be nice to come, but just,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll be up in Eagle Lake, which means I will not be the October 11th meeting.
You know, I also am not available on the 11th, so. That all of a sudden wipes out a quorum.
Hmm.
The 10th is the select board meeting, so even though. I would be available on the 10th, I don't know if you are,
No, I'm gone that whole week.
um,
I will watch it, on the town hall streams,
but we would be without a quorum because I'm out of town on the 11th.
So do we just wanna cancel? I mean, the RFP is gonna be out.
I think we're gonna. We could. Or we could say, let's meet,
On the week in between,
that would be
For
us next week.
yeah,
I'll be in school.
or we could meet on the 18th.
I can not be here. I'm gonna watch.
Calendar.
Probably the third Wednesday.
Yep,
Brian and I and Paul will not be here. Paul,
The 17th is an option, but then we're just gonna be meeting again
On the
on the
24th
24th,
or 25th.
25th, sorry, yes, 25th. I do that a lot of times.
what would be our potential agenda for the 11th?
I think we've got a couple of things here that we wanna think about. One are what questions do we want on a recycle survey? What topics do we wanna cover? And I think everyone should come up with what some of those topics should be. And then what do you think our foundation should be? So that's our whereas clauses. So it's gonna be a little bit more of a working meeting because we've got this stuff pretty well in hand. It's gonna be a little more of a working meeting. I don't mind if people wanna meet on the the 17th is not a select board meeting. It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
or Monday the 16th.
Or Monday the 16th. Yeah,
I could do either one of this.
Hold on. Let me see if the room's available.
okay.
Good thought.
There are other meeting rooms, but I know they're not. There's not AV.
Can't read exactly, I can't record or broadcast
Okay,
out of this room.
Paul Dennis is calling me.
oh,
I don't take calls during meetings.
Okay, so you were looking at what day?
16th or 17th?
16th, this room is
Maybe.
available.
Maybe Paul, we can find out if Paul's available.
I will.
The 17th, this room is not
Not in the middle
available.
of a meeting, sir. Yes.
Ask him if he's available on 16th,
No, that's all right. Are you available on the 16th or something?
Monday the 16th.
Monday, the 16th for a meeting. He says yes.
All right, cool. Tell him you'll talk to him on anything else later.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Perfect. All right, so that will be somewhat of a working meeting. Survey, recycle survey. Recycle basis. What is it? Now, would it help any of you guys? I've pulled some stuff on recycle clauses. I'm trying to see where it is, what they are, why you would do them. Would it be helpful I don't know, I've got it in here somewhere. I've worked with enough lawyers and I know some of this stuff, but. I am not a lawyer, I just play one. Would it be helpful if I did kind of a summary, this is what a recycled whereas clause is, or just by saying, hey, we're looking for basis, is that enough for you guys? Okay, so you're set, we don't need to, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think from what you described today already.
Yeah, it's just, it's what are the bases, what are the underlying themes and, what are you. What are you trying to accomplish, why are you, that kind of stuff. So, all right, so the basis and thoughts for surveys. Brian, can you check with Nicole and see what we have for a recycle survey? I mean, I know they've done one in the past. So hopefully there's some. I wasn't, the questions they asked, I'm not sure are really was germane to some of the stuff we're doing, so I think maybe we do a new one. But my point is, since we've done one before, hopefully we can do one again. So if you'll check with Nicole to see what we can do with regard to the survey.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, and when that last one was done. That was done online. A survey was conducted online
And that might be an option.
through the town website.
Could you ask Nicole on the online option? What governors are in effect so that, let's say, Pat's really,
You can only do it once.
if you can only do it once.
That's how that last one was. You could only
Okay.
do it once.
Do you want to ask Nicole about survey? What options do we have for conducting a survey?
Sure.
There's another option, can we hope? I assume the public is welcome to come to any of our meetings.
Yes. They are.
You can always solicit people to come in, I know it might prolong meetings, but.
Well, I agree with doing that. I think we should at some point. I'm not sure this next meeting.
Right.
I'd rather have us get some kind of a framework. And then get people to come and give us some feedback after we've kind of got a framework and give them something to bounce with. But that said, please, friends and family. We don't have to, if they've got any thoughts on what we should be asking about recycling. And then let's, maybe if you can even jot it down and get it out to people before the 16th, so everybody's kind of got a basis on what everybody's thinking. That would be great.
Yep.
Anything else? Anything we didn't cover, we should have, anything we.
As far as timely, what needs to get done right now, I think.
I'll get that, I'll make the edits and get that survey out on Facebook. If not tonight, then probably tomorrow.
If we're changing a meeting date, we need to give any kind of notice other than having it in our minutes.
Yeah, I think there's a notice on the website, which Brian, you can take.
Yeah, I put everything on the calendar. And I'll change that probably tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
We change that to the 16th, Monday.
16th at 6 p.m.
Put it in your device.
I'm trying to do that.
All right,
You're not gonna get self-service up there anyways.
Well, I'll be here 16th.
Oh, yeah.
if nobody has anything else. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right,
That's 7:20.
not too bad.
That's.